A few days ago I made a video where I showed this rack and explained how it helps me in my mixing process. As always, when I talk about the rack or something similar, people ask me if I could share it, which I might do at some point, but rather than just putting it out there, I thought it would be more helpful if I show how to build this rack. The first thing I did was load an EQ8 and press Command G to make a rack. I then duplicated this EQ8 3 times. Now it looks like this, and I'll quickly rename those 4 chains. And obviously we don't need an EQ on the dry chain. The next thing I did was setting up the EQ. So obviously for the low band we need a low pass filter, for the mid band we need a high and a low pass filter, and for the high band we only need a high pass filter. We can open up the macro section by pressing this button here, and as you can see I already renamed some of them. And now by pressing map we can start mapping the crossover frequencies to our crossover macros. For the mid band I'm mapping the high pass frequency to this low mid crossover and the low pass frequency to this high mid crossover. And obviously for the high band I'm mapping the high pass filter to the high mid crossover. Now we can change the frequencies here by using those 2 macros, and obviously by changing the low pass filter in the mid band I'm simultaneously changing the high pass filter in the high band. However, we might not want the low mid crossover to go all the way from 10 Hz to 22 kHz, so it makes sense to kind of limit those ranges a bit. I decided to go for 70 to 300 and 900 to 9000 Hz. The last thing we need to do is make our chain selector macro move between dry, low, mid and high, so we can open up chain, right click and distribute ranges equally, and then map this section here to our chain selector macro. This is how I built this rack, which makes my mixing process quite a bit easier.